Hi everyone, Coldon here with another VOX Immortalis commentary guide. This video is for Heroic Maloriak, and this shows the 10-man version. Before I begin with the fight details, just a brief bit of maintenance. I'm experimenting with a setup for the video after getting some feedback from other videos about whether people enjoy the background music or not. I've decided for this one to have the commentary portion of the fight, the first half of this video, be without background music, just the commentary guide. But then I've also attached the full duration of the fight at the end of this video with music, so sort of a music video version without commentary. So I hope that those that just want the music fight can fast forward to that, and those that want commentary without distraction can enjoy that in the first half. Hopefully this will appease everyone. Anyway, on to the fight itself. Heroic Maloriak is pretty much just like normal, except everything hits harder, and there is one additional phase. So that phase is the dark phase, which you can see we're doing now. It's always the very first phase of the fight, so normally where you would get blue or red randomly, you always get dark at the start. The dark phase itself causes Maloriak to spawn 5 vile swill ads, which you can see there in the back. They're just 5 little oozes. They have over 1 million health each, so they're all pretty beefy. They have normal threat and normal melee attacks for around 10 or 11,000 on a tank. But most importantly, they will cast this dark sludge puddle under random raid members every few seconds. Because there are 5 of them and they do it frequently, you can see how the room fills up pretty quickly. These puddles don't last a long time, but as this phase goes on, the puddles will migrate toward people. And because they're cast by each individual swill on a random person, you can get multiple puddles under you at the same time. A single puddle will deal 15,000 damage per second to a player standing on it before mitigation. And so if you have 2 or 3 puddles, you could get upwards of 30 or 45,000 damage per second. Pretty deadly stuff. Otherwise, the main focus is for everyone in the raid to stay out of puddles and maximize DPS on the swills. Like so many cataphights, unfortunately, this favors range DPS over melee, simply because melee are forced into a clump due to the pools. So if you have a lot of range DPS, especially strong AE DPS, that's really great for the swill phase. After a minute 40, the dark phase will end, and regardless of whether swill are killed or not, the next phase will begin. This gets into the normal randomness, so you can get either red or blue. In this case, we get red first. And he still does release aberration casts and arcane storms and all that stuff. But the key thing is that because it's heroic, the abilities hit a lot harder than normal. So for red phase, by far the most dangerous portion of it is the Scorching Blast. That's the cone in front, as you know. This does 1 to 1.25 million damage, split among all targets in front and heroic. So if, for example, you have, say, 9 player targets soaking this up with 1 person standing out for Consuming Flames debuff, that's around 138,000 damage per person, which, as you can guess, is pretty much unsurvivable without a cooldown for most low health players. If you don't have strong raid cooldowns that you can use frequently, such as Aura Mastery or Disc Priest Shield is pretty much the best one, then you'll have to rely on other methods. And for us, it turned out to be pets were the key. All the normal pets and a lot of the abnormal pets do count as valid targets for soaking the blast. So we have our mage summon his 3 mirror images, we have a warlock and a hunter pet pull to the front, and those 5 additional targets bring our total up to about 14 people to soak it up rather than 9, and it makes the healing much easier. That said, it's still a lot of heavy damage, so as a druid healer on that phase, I pretty much treat it like the feud phase in Chimeron, if you're familiar with that, and just basically spread AE heals as much as I can until everyone is full health, and then repeat the process, preparing ahead of time with HOTS for when the damage is coming. Generally, you will get 2 Scorching Blasts per red phase, but you can get a 3rd one depending on how the timing lines up for Maloriak. Then you'll have the blue phase if you got red first or vice versa. I won't explain that right away. The green phase here is just like the normal phase, or normal version. You want to focus down the aberrations because they will temporarily lose that damage mitigation and damage output buff. And in our case, because we have our Paladin tank on the ads because of his higher block mechanics, the overall strategy is to have 3 sets for a total of 9 aberrations alive when the green phase happens. The Berserk timer and the timing of the overall phases is pretty key on this fight. So you have a total of just over 11 minutes to do the fight, and the total duration of one phase to the next of that same phase is just about 4 minutes. So meaning at the end of a green phase to the next end of the next green phase is 4-minute time. And the timing lines up such that the end of the second green phase, you have just over 4 minutes total left before the Berserk. So if you think it through, that means you could reach the third green phase to kill additional aberrations, but you would not have any time to actually kill Maloriak from 25% or higher. So because of that, you have to use only 2 green phases in which to kill all the aberrations that you're going to. There are 18 total, just like normal, so splitting that in half, we have to do 9 per green phase. There are 4 total release aberration casts during the blue and red phase combination. So 4 total casts means you want to interrupt 1 of them and let 3 go. So to lower the damage and the time that our tank has to be on aberrations, we interrupt the first cast during the blue-red phase, and then we let the next 3 go, burning cooldowns and help to sort of snare and root the aberrations to buy our tank time. Anyway, one more thing about the dark phase here. If you look at Maloriak's target frame there above my grid, you can see Engulfing Darkness, which is the only ability he will use on the tank during this fight. It's a channeled ability. It lasts 8 seconds, as you can see. And during that duration, it will do heavy shadow damage to the tank and anyone in front of them in a cone. But more importantly, it stops all healing, 100% of healing during that time. After that 8-second channel is complete, Maloriak will recast the ability, and the cast time is 3 seconds. So this process repeats over and over, meaning you have 8 seconds of heavy damage on the tank where he can't be healed, so he has to be full health or have a cooldown. And then during that 3-second recast time, your healers will heal him back up to full, and the process repeats. So for our setup, we have a Shaman and Paladin and Druid. So the Shaman and Paladin are really just focused on healing up during those 3-second bursts, whereas as the Druid healer, I mostly focus on our Swill tank and the Raid. And then you just cross over healing where you can. So that's the entire dark phase. The blue phase, as I mentioned, is basically like normal, with one minor exception in that people that get targeted by the ice block effect must be healed up to nearly or completely full health before they are broken out of the block. The damage from the initial hit plus the damage from breaking someone out is much higher than most people's health pools without a cooldown. So our general rule to deal with this is that DPS never attack a blocked person until the healer specifically states that it's okay to do so in Mumble. And this way, we guarantee that we've healed them back up to full or near full, and we're okay. So the blue phase otherwise is just about spreading out, and it's very simple. So we've got red phase again. This time we got red second, and you're just doing all your normal stuff. So you can see here sort of my heal strategy is focusing my hots on the tank that's on aberrations because he's about to get a 6th set. And otherwise, I just blanket the Raid with AE heals and, just try to keep everyone topped off because the Scorching Blast is really the most deadly thing to the Raid during this fight. And I should mention now is a good time that one of the real keys to this fight, probably the biggest thing, is interrupts. For good or bad, whether you like them or not, this fight really revolves around your ability to manage your interrupts on the release aberrations and the Arcane Storm. And unlike normal, where you can get away with missing a few or letting a few ticks of Arcane Storm go off or that kind of thing, on Heroic you really have no leeway. Arcane Storm hits very hard, And so if the raid is not taking AE damage otherwise, you can let one tick, maybe two, go off and still survive. But during like the blue phase, for example, if someone is ice blocked and immediately takes a tick of Arcane Storm, generally that will kill him. Likewise, if the raid takes Arcane Storm during a red phase and Scorching Blast hits around the same time, that will kill the raid. So both of these things really require very fast interrupts on Arcane Storm. And then, of course, you have to manage your release aberrations so that you get your 3 spawn sets out just before the green, but you're not tanking them very long. Anyway, so like normal, once Maloriak hits 25%, as he's done just a moment ago, he goes into the final phase. He'll release all his aberrations if there's still any up, and then he'll begin casting all his various abilities. So you've got the Acid Rain AE, which hits everyone in the raid. That's a really heavy AE damage. So just use all your cooldowns that you can to mitigate it, help your healers out. And then he does the Magma Jets on the tank in a cone. These will basically last for long enough duration that you have about 4 active in any one time. So you can see our Death Knight tank is doing a good job of keeping him faced to the corner and the walls, and then he just rotates around over and over because the cast happens very frequently. Make sure your tank sidesteps it, as it does a lot of damage in Heroic. And then the last thing, of course, is the ice orbs, which we're not very good at dodging, or at least I'm not, but for better or worse, we were able to hang in there long enough for this. This is, I believe, the 3rd time we'd ever been into this phase without extra aberrations alive or without someone already dead. So, and that's out of about a little over 50 attempts total to get this first kill. So that's just anecdotal evidence that this phase is actually the easier part of the fight. There's a lot of healing going on. It's, very bursty, but you can sort of burn him down and get things done if you got everything else done in the fight. So that's pretty much Heroic Maloriak. Good luck. Thanks for watching. And stay tuned if you want to watch the fight at normal speed with some music in the background. Thanks for watching.